When those students walk up this sidewalk Monday morning to start the fall semester, everything through these doors is going to be brand new to them.
The district is meeting to discuss laying off 300 employees in order to cut $25 million in spending. And they're doing that right now. This is a live look into that meeting.
Good afternoon. A 12 News special report for you now. The state takeover of BISD vaults forward on the ruling of an Austin judge. The BISD motion for a temporary injunction has been denied.
I just want to get to the point of being able to run with Mary one day, so it might be a couple of years.
You'll be there. I'm not that fast. You'll be there soon.
Do you feel like
it is still very much a very active fire scene out here? I'm going to step aside and let Patrick show you what just happened. You can see the roof and the awning have collapsed. Firefighters are now fighting the fire from both the ladder. They've extended the ladder. They're fighting it from up there. They're also fighting it from the ground. And according to the people who have purchased these cups, Team Jacob wins tonight. And good news for the Team Jacob fans, I have it on good authority that at least one scene tonight, he takes off his shirt. So that's for all the Team Jacob fans. We're live in Beaumont. Mary Sturgill, 12 News HD. It costs $2,300 to $2,500 a month just to keep the library open. And without donations, these shelves would be empty. And the story of the library would come to an end. A new study released at midnight finds older women have a much higher risk of Alzheimer's disease than breast cancer.
Pour yourself some cereal.
Well, I would fill this whole thing up.
Whoa,
like this.
whoa,
like I would do,
yes,
like seriously,
yes.
I would do that. And that's probably two cups if I had to guess now.
Let's do a quick.
And we'll show you how they have to concentrate really hard. We'll show you that. And move over, Grumpy Cat. Ugly Cat has the online platform now. So he's trying to look at other options other than reducing personnel. But as we just stated a few minutes ago, right before the break, almost $18 million that BISD is projected to be in the hole this year. Suarez has also been fined $112,000. But it's important to note that she did deny one of the TROs in this case already.
The accreditation.
And baby Faith is suspected of being one of the more than 1,200 children in Jefferson County who are victims of abuse every year. 90 trained special advocates with court-appointed special advocates are here to help those children through the court system and to be the voice the children often don't have.
And some of those stories don't have happy endings, but we found one that does. Here's 12 News anchor Mary Sturgill with Asher's story.
About 3 years ago, there was a very real possibility that Asher Badgett would not be able to run and play like he does today. That if he hadn't been taken out of the abusive situation he was in, he could have ended up with severe brain injury like baby Faith Mason, or even lost his life. But luckily, that is not the case. Jamie Hogue is a CASA volunteer and received Asher's case back in December of 2010.
5 o'clock in the morning, our phone rang, and it was the DA's office calling to say that they just received one of the worst child abuse cases they'd ever seen. There was an 8-week-old boy with 29 broken bones.
That phone call rang the change that would take place in Asher's life.
Okay, I know.
But he had a lot of healing to do first.
He arrived in the ER. The nurses and doctors actually called him the broken baby, because how can you have 29 broken bones and have that not be significant?
At only 8 weeks old, that averages out to 3 broken bones a week in his short life.
He had 23 broken ribs. He had 3 spinal compression fractures. He had a crack in one of his arms, and he had 2 breaks in his left femur. The most significant being the fracture that broke his femur completely in half.
The 4 days Asher spent in the hospital were just the beginning of the healing process.
Because he didn't sustain any life-threatening injuries, he was able to leave after a few days, but he had multiple physician follow-up visits in Houston. He had a body splint because of his broken femur. His bones were broken, but his brain was okay, and that's the big difference between Asher and Faith.
During the investigation into Asher's abuse, he was placed in foster care.
It was one of the hardest things because I was blocked out for 5 months of even seeing him because I had been around him, so, naturally I was, suspected like anybody else.
Hogue says justice was served in Asher's case, and with the support of the adults now surrounding him, including his grandfather, this resilient little boy bounced back.
Jamie Hogue and CASA have been a big part of his life, and he had a wonderful foster mother during those 5 months.
He had CPS workers fighting for him, and in the end, his grandfather and I were able to agree.
That agreement was on what was best for Asher, and that was for Gene Badgett to adopt his grandson.
It was a long, hard situation to go through, but I'm glad I did it. And a lot of paperwork involved, a lot of jumping through hoops.
I've been with CASA 10 years, and Gene is the first blood relative of any of my CASA kids that I've ever felt good about. And it's a perfect ending to what started out as a tragic story.
And to meet Asher today, well, if you didn't know his story, you would never guess how much he's overcome.
Yep. You don't really have to teach him. You guide him and then kind of get out of the way. That's the kind of child that he is.
He is very lucky. Asher Rain Badgett is healthy and active and smart. Oh, he's so smart. And he's perfect.
He's got a sense of humor. He's always clowning.
He is a perfect happy ending.
In Beaumont, Mary Sturgill, 12 News HD.
Boy, he bounces back up and keeps on going, doesn't he? Hogue tells us that Asher's abuser is in prison for the crime, and little Asher will soon turn 3 years old.
To help other children like Asher have a happy ending, consider becoming a CASA volunteer. There's information on how to do that on our website, 12newsnow.com.
This could have very well become a case of human sex trafficking, which is one of the fastest growing criminal industries in the world.
12 News anchor Mary Sturgill has been investigating human sex trafficking here in Southeast Texas. Mary.
Jackie, Kevin, it really is modern-day slavery. In my special investigation, Stolen Lives, I talked to one victim about her life as a sex slave, and I talked to those who help victims get away from the people who sell them, the pimps. This is a very dangerous world, so I am calling our victim, Amy, hiding her identity and changing her voice to protect her. The girl you see walking down the street may not be what you think. Human sex trafficking is more prevalent than ever before. Amy was sold for sex for almost 7 years before she took back her stolen life.
I was his, nobody else's.
Amy's boyfriend, Pimp, had complete control of her, making it difficult to get away.
He came up and in the middle of the street kicked me in the face and broke my nose and kicked me in my ribs several times and just left me there with blood everywhere.
Do you think those people knew that this wasn't your choice?
Yeah, a lot of them.
Lisa works with sex trafficking victims through a nonprofit called Harvest House. We are not using Lisa's last name for her protection.
25% of all human trafficking is in the state of Texas.
According to the Department of Justice, Interstate 10 is the main corridor for sex trafficking.
Houston is known as the conditioning city. There are pimps all over that send their prostitutes to Houston to be conditioned. They starve them, they drug them, and they beat them until their will is broken.
During our 12 News investigation, our cameras captured this footage at a restaurant near the Interstate 10 Highway 69 interchange. We asked Beaumont police officer Joe Ornelas about the footage. He says what our cameras caught is very suspicious, and the Beaumont PD is now investigating. There are stories upon stories of human trafficking coming right out of Southeast Texas.
There was a gentleman in Port Arthur. He was HIV positive, so the first thing he would do was sleep with them, and that was a part of the conditioning. Then he would make his appointments at a local hotel.
The majority of activity is generated online. Backpage.com is the #1 site pimps use to sell their victims.
They put pictures of them there, and of course they all say that they're 18 years old, but they sell girls much younger than 18 years old.
The average age of a trafficked victim is between the ages of 8 and 14 years old. It's estimated that 1 in 3 children who run away from home are lured into sex trafficking within the first 48 hours.
Officer Ornelas trains other officers.
In the latest stats I saw, there's 27 million people enslaved today in the world. And out of that, these traffickers make $32 billion a year. That's billion dollars a year.
Wow. With so much at stake, the only way many victims get their stolen lives back
is to be arrested. And if you don't get out,
then 7 to 10 years, you will be dead.
I've seen people killed out there, girls, because they didn't do what they're supposed to do.
Amy tried going to jail 9 times before she finally got away from her pimp. And then one day, beaten and bruised, she sat down on the curb.
I was asking God to help me, get me off the street.
Now, Amy's savior came in the form of a police officer. She was arrested. She spent time in jail, and she still had to hide out for a year after she got out of jail before she felt safe enough to be able to return home. But the good thing is, soon, though, victims will have a place to go. Harvest House is hoping to build a home where the girls can go and get the rehabilitation and get the help that they need, both mentally and physically, to deliver them from this modern time slavery.
Wow, so not just a big city problem.
No, it's a problem everywhere you look.
Wow.
And right here in Southeast Texas.
Mary, thanks very much.
For your work there. If you suspect someone is the victim of human trafficking, call the police or the national hotline, 1-888-373-7888.
And we'll have that number along with some other resources on our website. Just look for this story and look at the bottom for the number.